It's so weird that we both got to do it at the same time.
I know, it's so weird. And it's so weird you have to click go live on restream before you can go live with the embedded stream. Now it's going live. Okay. You have to click it a bunch of times because it takes a bit to register. Are you live on the Instagram?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So yay. Okay. Um welcome welcome to She's All Over the Place. I have an artist on today. His name's Chris Dyer. He's from
Hello.
Peru. Hi. He's from Peru and he's perfect for She's All Over the Place because he's been to over 44 countries and counting. It is such an honor to have a soulful artist on the bio will be in the show notes below, but I just want to just share this little paragraph right now. Chris Dyer is a soul with good intentions for his self and humanity. He is a soul on a quest for a higher frequency of consciousness through natural life experiences and practices. He is open to be a medium of the Great Spirit who attempts to let go of the complications of his ego mind and be in service to the evolving collective. A student of life and gratitude for all human experiences given to him. I mean, this is just so beautiful, and the way you articulate and communicate, it's so poetic. And I mean, we're that oneness with our souls. I mean, it's the vibe. It is the vibe. You are living in the vibe that people hear about, that they wonder about. It's just so normal for you, and I love connecting with you, and I'm excited for people to learn more about you. So let's start in
Thank you.
Peru. Yes, my pleasure.
Yeah, I
Uh,
wrote that. I probably wrote that 10, 15 years ago. And when I hear it, I'd be like, all right, let's see if this still like resonates. And it's like, oh yeah, it still works. It's still what I'm up to.
yeah. Yeah, I mean we're really going to go all over the place, and that's how you are and what you are, but really it's the oneness. It's the oneness, Bob Marley oneness. It's the oneness that you know to be true, that you live through. And um let's just and then the skateboarding video that you did on YouTube, I'm going to have it in the show notes so people can check out how you're a creative director, and you're a part of the skateboard culture. But let's dive into Peru and culture. You're from Peru, and how was it growing up in Peru? I haven't been there yet, so tell a 3-year-old mind how Peru is.
Wow. Peru is a bunch of flavors as the States or Canada or France is a bunch of flavors. But I'm from Lima. Lima is the big Babylon, 10 million person city on the coast. It's desert, it's dirty, it's dangerous, it's fun. I grew up in the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I don't know. There were things I hated and there were things I liked. I wouldn't say I was, you know, uh, perfectly made for that environment, but I grew to be tough to cruise through it. Maybe built too many armors around me that later I had to like drop off through my life, because you just can't like be armored for the rest of your life. It's better to have like an open heart. Uh, but that I did later through going back to Peru, but more like the jungle area, which is like the other side of the Andes. So yeah, really hard to describe all of Peru in a couple of sentences. Uh, but yeah, my Lima was crazy. If I can
Yeah.
say
I
that.
love it. Raw, dirty, and then, being defensive to protect yourself as humans. And then the process of shedding and letting go of those things, and identifying different colors and layers of life and love. So that's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I'm a foodie. So what are some like must have foods that you love from your country?
Yeah, definitely Peru is a great country for food. I'd say is one of the best of the world, even though people don't really know it. But if you've ever gone to a Peruvian restaurant, you've never been disappointed. I guess our famous dish is ceviche. Now there's ceviches versions from different countries, but Peru invented the ceviche, which is raw fish with lime to cook the fish and
Oh,
a bunch of other, you know, red onion and uh, cancha serrana, etc. My favorite is jalea mixta, which is deep fried seafood. Once again, with red onion and lime and sweet potato and yuca potato and cancha serrana and Thousand Islands to dip it in. It's like variety of flavors that I personally really enjoy. And then it goes on and on. Peru has so many like micro cultures and climates. It's got the Andes, so that's more of like a agricultural, potato centered, corn, Inca Empire kind of vegetables. But then the coast is more like seafood. And then on the other side of the Andes is the jungle. And that's a whole totally different kind of culture and food and dance and etc. So, yeah, there's a lot in Peru. But I'd say in general, they season their food really well. And we got some great chefs that now are shining around the world.
wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. You're the first person I've had on from Lima on the She's All Over the Place.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, I'm sure Paris has a good Peruvian restaurant. So while you're there, I'd say search it out and give it a shot, and maybe let the waiters or the chef or whatever like recommend their best plate, and I think you'll really like it.
Will do, and I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know. I'll take like a screenshot and send you the Instagram or something so you know next time you're in Paris.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've been there a couple times. I really like it. Lots of walking, great museums, very beautiful.
Oh, yes, yes. So let's just dive into, museums and culture. And, you mentioned how your culture, and then being an open heart and traveling around to over 44 different countries has really implemented, strategic flow for the vision of your work. How does culture apply to your work? How can we see that, and what does that mean for you?
Well, I have my cultures. I'm Peruvian Canadian, now living in the States. I, to some degree, identify with the countries I grew up and lived in, and I love them. But at the same time, I try not to let it be a box that's so rigid where I'm like, Peruvian is what I am, or Canadian is what I am, or like the country where I grew up is my identity. Like, uh, thus, why going to different countries around the world, like, hell no, I'm not from Thailand or India or Paris. But you go there, and I am a human also, and we all are humans. And you observe them, and you're like, oh yeah, these are just like humans, but with different cultural expressions. And when I observe what is culture, culture is kind of like a physical expression from the soul that comes out in a fractal of different ways, and it's beautiful every time. Like, yeah, no, even when it's ugly, it's still beautiful because it's interesting. It's like, wow, look at this, garbage culture. Wow, it's fascinating and interesting. And like, I would love to go to Chernobyl and see these melted buildings, or like I find there's nothing that's not interesting to some degree, even if it wouldn't be like a place that I wouldn't want to live, or but yeah, I feel like human culture is like a tree, and our humanity is the trunk, and the branches are the countries, and then the branches split up, and that's the different cities and neighborhoods, and then the leaves are the humans. So there's lots to see on this beautiful tree, but at the end it's all the same tree. And if I'm going to identify with anything, I want to either identify with the whole tree or with the spirit that lives within the tree, but not so much with like, oh, I'm this branch or I'm this leaf, and thus now I'm not the rest of the tree. I am the whole tree. We are the whole tree.
So beautiful. I love it. Yeah, seasonal. We're trees, and it's seasonal. So I love it. My friend, actually, he's a professor in Michigan, Dr. Marcus Collins, and he has a new book called for the culture, and you just inspired me. I'm going to send it to you as a gift.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
What does he say about culture?
I mean, he goes into a lot. And I wanted to send him this little clip that you just sent, so I can send him what you say. But no, he the part that sticks out is how, we're the branches, how there's multiple communities. We're all one, but there's different community branches and communities. And they're each there's multiple cultures, like that are
Hmm.
supposed so specific, like you being from Lima and me being Greek, but we identify and we know the depths of it, but we're able to step outside, not be so attached, and observe, so we can appreciate the other leaves on the branch too. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Terence McKenna, who's a philosopher I enjoy, said he used to say a lot that culture is your enemy. I don't know about enemy, but if you let culture be like, you have to be like this, you got to get in this box. And if you're not part of this box and you break through, then you're an outcast and you're no good and we will reject you or even punish you. If culture becomes that rigid, I'd rather not be of any culture. I just want to use culture like I use a t-shirt, you know? Today I'm using a Bad Brains punk t-shirt. Am I 100% punk? No, I'm like, a flower with different petals. So as long as it doesn't box me and limit me, I'm down for all cultures in a way.
yeah, yeah, that's so interesting. I know the name. I studied some of his work. I didn't hear that specifically until now, but in a brushstroke, I can identify with what you mean, or what I hypothesize of what it means. And I think, I don't know, because he's super evolved in a lot of ways, but I feel like when you mentioned that, I identified when I was maybe stuck in a way. And I was the antithesis of culture, not wanting to be identified with anything. I don't know if that is the meaning of what he was saying, but that's how I just kind of interpret it. Is that
Well, he's
ringing a
from
bell or no?
he's from a different time, and he was like a psychedelic researcher, and psychedelics kind of like breaks you out of your culture where you stop identifying so much. Like these days everybody wants to I identify as this, I identify as that, and that's not bad. You can be like, oh, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I observe myself, but you can't make that identity, like, once again, so rigid of a box that you can't, like, your soul can't expand and go past. And I think that's what he meant by culture is your enemy. Like, oh, I'm an American and thus I'm not Mexican or Canadian, and they are opposite from me. Like, I'll go to Mexico and hang out with Mexicans and I'll feel Mexican, like there's not, like, obviously I'm not from Mexico. I didn't grew up there. I wasn't born there. But in that moment, when you vibe with these people, you become that people. So yeah, I'm sure you feel that way when you go to Paris right now and you're not French, but if you vibe with people in that moment, you are, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Because we're able to be open and let go, and just a part of our psyche, just just by nature, we're able to be of that. I don't think probably everyone identifies with what we're sharing, but in contrast, sometimes when I go to Greece, because I speak so much Greek, but some of the Greek language is archaic. Like the Greeks that are our age, they're so fast, they know all the slang. I don't know those, so sometimes when I go to Greece, it's like uncomfortable because it's like I don't feel Greek enough. You know what I mean? Like in such a way. Although I'm very Greek, but yeah, yeah, love.
I resonate because certainly when I go to Peru after 2 decades of living in Canada, I feel like I'm not Peruvian enough. But certainly when I'm in Canada, I'm not Canadian enough. So I'm not really enough of no culture to be like, I'm so goddamn Peruvian, I'm so goddamn Canadian. I'm a little bit of this and I'm a little bit of that and a little bit of interdimensional alien. And really, it doesn't really matter. I love Peru. I love Canada, but I wouldn't want that to be like once again so strong and rigid that that's kind of like my validation, or I'm good because I'm this, and I'm good because I live in this city or whatever. I'm good because I'm good, and I'll be in a city and I'll be in a country, but that's there's more to that.
Yeah. Health is wealth. Health is number one. So
Yeah.
let's shape shift here and let's focus on your book. So tell me about your book. I mean, how neat. You have coloring books, and I would love to hear more.
Yeah, thank you so much. I have done several books over the years. My newest art book, which is my second coffee table one, just dropped a couple months ago. It's called Shamanic Journey, 256 color pages. I had 2,000 copies printed. It's done through a publisher from San Francisco called Last Gasp. I'm touring it plenty this year. I'm about to leave for California next week. I'll be in San Diego, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Eureka, Grass Valley. Basically, just showing up, meeting the fans, and signing books for them if they're interested. And yeah, it's basically my art from 2011, so around age 30, to basically last year, 2023. And so it's like 13 years, 13, 14 years of art. And yeah, been a lot of ups and downs in those years. I was married, I got divorced, I traveled a bunch, I've had relationships that fall down. You get locked up in Peru. You have to then leave Montreal because of Babylon system circumstances, etc. But I always will make art to reflect where I'm at in that process. There was a lot of work with plant medicines, and I always try to express to the best of my abilities through these paintings and the words that go along with it. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun to share.
Beautiful. Congratulations. I have so many questions. But first and foremost, it's just, like you said, through it all, you self reflect with your art. And so it's an internal journey that you express in without. And I just love, as a content creator, as a producer, as a director, how you capture it all. And so I have a question about being a filmmaker and capturing content on, you know, did you always have gear? Did you just, whatever it was, have a tripod, a iPhone, just start capturing it? You didn't know what it was going to be, but you just knew you had to document the moment in the series? Or did you have a vision like, I'm going to capture this and it's going to be something? Did you know what it was going to be? Like, I love how you just create the content and then you put it into the series. So, how is your experience? Everything as an artist, growing through life, and just documenting these moments, and then sharing them vulnerably.
Yeah, I'm a over expressive person. I've always been that way. Like, I think my earliest videos are like 13 years old, and I had a giant camcorder that I would borrow from my uncle, and I would just film everything. So I got like a lot of old school VHS recordings from different projects I would make. In the Then when I moved to Canada in the late 90s, I started making skate videos. So I bought a pawn shop camcorder and would film all my friends, and then I would edit the videos with two different VCRs, which was super difficult because you had to use the pause button. So you only really had a couple minutes before you found the next shot. So then you could like record and make a montage that made sense, because if the pause button ran out, it would stop and rewind the tape just enough that it was really hard to get it just right. But anyways, that's like late 90s. Then I guess like digital cameras came into play. I actually resisted smartphones till probably age 30. I was like, dude, I'm in my 30s. All my life I didn't need a freaking phone in my pocket. I'm cool. And it was Instagram that fucked me up. Instagram, because you needed to do it from your phone. Uh, it was the thing that came up in 2011. Just kind of like joined the whole phone situation, and now I'm imprisoned. So, but it's a great piece of technology because even when I had my phone, I would still be doing my travel show. I did a travel show on YouTube. I have like 40 episodes traveling around, and I would do it with like a Canon or Sony, digital photo camera, so it would be good quality. But basically, I'm just like always like, okay, I got my phone, I got my camera, I got the different, and now it's only this, which is, now I just film everything with that, and it's good to go.
On a tripod?
Yeah, I roll with like I got a little travel pack with like probably 3 or 4 different tripods because now I do my podcast, so I need different angles, and I got like 4 different iPhones
No.
and a mixer and just yeah. So it's like the whole thing fits a little bag like that, and I can
Wow. You just
just
shoot it on 4 iPhones, and you always
yeah,
have to have one of these with you. The cloths, I carry them everywhere I go. Like, I'm always
right,
cleaning my iPhone cover and always
yeah,
always cleaning the with the cleaning cloth. Can't go anywhere without it. How wonderful. I love it. Multidimensional, that's so neat how I'm like that too in a way. I mean, different than you, but I'm like that too. I'll be like doing a podcast. Let's do a video podcast. Let's record it on the Zoom here. Let's get B-roll footage from another camera, and then I'll have my editor like edit a short film. Let's do it all, like while making art. So, and I do
yeah.
voiceovers. So I'm like, then I'll do the narration later if it's not scripted.
Uh-huh. Nice. That yeah, it's super fun. Like video projects have always been extracurricular art. I've never made a penny from neither my documentary or my travel show or my podcast. If anything, it's cost me tons of money, like hiring editors to help me put it all together. But I don't know. Like once again, I'm an over expressive person by nature. This is who I am, so I'm just gonna be it and not fight it or judge myself for it. So yeah, I'll do a painting. Yes, I'll write a book, but also like, hey, let's communicate through video form because it's such a beautiful thing. And perhaps I never really learned how to animate properly, but like I love to work with animators that then animate my characters and etc. The sky's the limit. Like there's just so much you can do while in the physical form. So
I
yeah.
know. I know. I have so many questions, but let's just dive into your documentary. Like, tell me more about your full length feature documentary.
Yeah, that one came out. That one. Okay, so this is like MySpace days, 2007. Some kids from Arkansas came to me and be like, "Hey, we want to make a documentary about you." And it's like, okay, cool. I'm really complicated, but like, go for it. And they're like, okay, can you like film your life and then give us the material? So I spent all of 2008 traveling, interviewing my family and friends from Peru, Montreal, around the world. And then I sent them a box of tapes, and then they were like, holy shit, we don't know what to do with this. Like this tape's about tree planting, this tape's about Peruvian street gang, this tape's about skateboarding, this tape's about being an activist, etc. It was like a mess. So then I had to like step into the role of, I guess, like director of my own movie, which I guess makes sense because I know my story the best, but seems a little bit like self-centered and egotistical. But either way, I directed them to do this movie that took like, I think like 2 or 3 years to put out. It came out 2011. We did DVDs and some launches, and then we just put it on YouTube. And yeah, it's pretty fun. I think it's an hour and a half. It's called Positive Creations. Yes, it's about me and my life, but I use that kind of like as the, once again, the skeleton to then explore all these subcultures that I interact with. Like, what is Canadian tree planting culture? What is Peruvian street gang culture? What is skateboard culture, or the visionary art culture, or all these different cultures that interest me? I go and I explore it through the story of like, I guess my different chapters in life.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love how interested you are. And, I've heard along my journey that when you're interested, then you're interesting. And with getting to know you and hearing you, I mean, you're gonna have so many more journeys and so many more stories. And this is wonderful. It'll be in the show notes so people can watch the documentary.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, I'm like an alien from a different dimension and planet. May I think we all are, but I'm very aware. I've been made very aware of my interdimensional self, and I feel I'm just like on vacation on planet Earth, living like a few human lives, maybe many human lives, at different times of the human history, as kind of like vacation slash research and making the most out of it. So I'm really curious, I want to see it. I want to record it. I feel like I'm on like I got all these projects, and that's why I make my books and my movies, and it's for me. But I also like to share with everybody else who likes to observe it through my curiosity, and
Yeah.
then we go back home.
Yeah, because I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I love it, and I'm creating content in multidimensional ways as well. And it's like, but I know at the end of the day, like we're not taking any of it with us, right? Like the blockchain isn't even forever. What's forever until we have no electricity? Like what's eternally forever? Like we're not taking any of that stuff with us, but unless you know something I don't.
I think forever is always there, and we're just in like moments of it. As for what we're leaving behind, I rather leave behind a book than say an Instagram profile, or really like I love YouTube and I leave my whole archives of YouTube. But like as you said, will there be YouTube in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years? What if like the plug is just unplugged? What if a solar flare just wipes out everything and then we're back to zero, both in electricity and in digital content? But that book will always be there, unless if it burns or it gets wet and flooded, which could also happen. And I got to be ready for impermanence. Like impermanence is the name of the game, ever changing reality. But like my intention is to leave medicine behind me past my life, so that I can raise the vibration of future versions of humans and self.
I love that. I love it. I love it. So speaking of your book, where can because if people aren't seeing you IRL at events while you're traveling, how can people pick up your book or gift it to somebody?
Yeah, I got a web page store, positivecreations.net. So yeah, that's my online store. It's got clothing and toys and stickers and prints and books and a lot of cool artsy stuff.
Skateboards.
Skateboards, tapestries, toys, puzzles. Yeah, there's just like a lot of products that I've had this brand for like 20 years. So it keeps on expanding, and yeah,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you so much. I try to like not let it be a headache in my life.
Word. Yeah, administrative assistance is always helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely. I got fulfillment people. That was the piece of the equation. But then like fulfillment has changed like probably like 5 times in the last few years. You just got to you got to keep on trying, and you find the right people who will like hold this project so you can go and live your life. Because I can't just be like chasing like the art career has so many facets that it's overwhelming, and then it ends up that I'm not making any art, and then I'm like, what the hell am I doing here if I'm
I
not making
know, because we have to use different parts of our brain, and it's like
it?
the tech stuff, but it's important. Okay, so I want to go deep real quick into your clothing line, how it's sustainable. I love how there's elements that are made from plastic. So please share. There are a lot of fashionistas who tune into the show, and I personally went to Brazil and did an episode on the Halogen Network, and it and was with this one brand called Eden out of Brazil, and it was all organic, made from organic cotton from Brazil and fish scales. So I would love to hear about sustainability and what it means for you and how you implement it with your lifestyle and fashion.
Yeah, well, obviously, we all like the environment. We love the planet that we live in, and we want the best for it. Um, I always try to take the best option available for me at the time. The ideal, like, would be if all my clothes would be hemp, and I had like at the beginning it was hemp, but the demand has to match what I put out. Because if I'm putting out like, okay, here's a bunch of hemp clothes, and people are like, oh, that's too expensive, or it doesn't fit well, or the print I like doesn't fit on hemp, then my business doesn't succeed, and then the business stops, and then there's nothing to offer. So
Yeah.
then you keep on moving. And so throughout the years, I've offered hemp, I've offered organic cotton. Once sublimation technology came about, that really helped my very detailed, colorful art to be printed onto more synthetic clothing, which is not ideal, but there's a lot of people out there that wants to buy it. So like you go for what people buy, they're voting on what I should offer by what they're buying. So it's like, oh, this is selling well, I will create more of that. When there's an option, and sometimes there is, sometimes there isn't, I like to use recycled plastics made out of used bottles. We planted tons of trees throughout the years. I just changed manufacturers, and the new manufacturer doesn't offer that. But then I will just, put charity on the side, planting trees through this charity called Dollar Donation. Or like say with the NFTs, the collection, the Galactic Gang was 5,555 NFTs that were created, and that used electricity or energy, even though relatively speaking it's not that much, but still it used some. So I was like, okay, what do we do to offset that? And we made a donation to this charity to plant 30,000 trees, which is not enough, I know, but you you try and give what you can to some degree to offset it. But I think in general, I just feel like if the whole systems of the world were more organic and came from clean energy, um, there's just not enough options. Like, for example, if I want to fly to the other side, like if I want to fly to Europe, I'm using all this gasoline on the airplane because there's not yet a sustainable option. There's just gasoline or gasoline. So I wish there was more choices in how we make clothes, how we get around, etc. So I try my best to lean more into the better choices. I don't think it's enough, so I don't want to be like, "Ooh, we're so clean and environmental that we're saving the planet." Let's say I'm damaging the planet, but just a little bit slower. But we all are. We all got a footprint. So I'm not trying to like beat myself over the head for
Yeah.
it. Just try to see what's the best available options.
Yeah. Uh, do you know the EMMAs, the Environmental Media Association?
No, I don't know what that means.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna send you to the Emmas. Two of my friends are on the board. Um, they have awards and events every year. And I mean, they did the president, I remember she did when they did the green carpet, I think it was at the Oscars, and everyone showed up in Toyotas. Like George Clooney, like they got out of the Toyotas on the green carpet, like the Emmas produced that. Jaden Smith, I believe, is on the board. He was a speaker one year when I was there. But I think connecting to these people with your ideas and your intentions, it's energy going out and it's being reciprocated. So I think your message and what you're saying, but to sustain and reach wider audiences on different levels, to make an impact, because like you said, 30,000 trees isn't enough. We only can do so much. So maybe being plugged into some different communities. I have a couple in mind. I'm gonna send you the link so you can look at them and see which ones you want to connect to. And I'm just gonna make the introduction, and you take it from there.
Yeah, the whole environmental conversation is a big one because, yes, I believe in the environment. Yes, I believe that we should have cleaner water, cleaner air, use less dirty energy. I know free, clean energy exists. It's just not being liberated and released to humanity. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but it's being created, and every time it's being created, those people get murdered and squashed
Mm.
because the powers that be want to keep the control over us. Believe, like, you can disagree with that statement, but that's my personal belief. So the option is there. I'm just waiting for the time for the consciousness of humanity to awaken enough that they have no option but to be like, okay, here's clean, free energy for all of humanity, and now you're free to, like, use all the energy you want without feeling guilty about the emissions. Because even with the electrical cars, it's like, okay, you plug it into the system, but where's that energy coming from? Where's that energy? Is that clean energy? Probably not. So it's like, I rather, like, I really want change, not the appearance of change, not pats on the back where we all feel. That's why when you're asking me, like, how environmental my brand is, it's like, well, I'm trying my best with what's set up, but I wouldn't even say like I'm that environmental, just because the system is still a flawed, corrupt system where people mostly always will go for the money. But hopefully it changes. I do believe the consciousness of humanity is evolving, it's growing, and it will be liberated in our time, and will create a world that makes more sense. But yeah, one step at a time, and I certainly don't know the answers.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel you. I feel you. That thing I told you about before we started, I have to give something to my friend. Just give me
Oh yeah,
15 seconds.
yeah,
Have some water. I'll be right back.
yeah, totally. I wonder who's looking at me right now as I drink this bottle of water.
Ah, 1 second. Of course.
I'm gonna see if you guys are up there on Instagram. You guys are commenting. Your hair looks great. Podcast. I think you're talking about your hair, not mine.
Un momento.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I did it myself. If they're talking about me, I did my own hair. When I was a kid, I always braided my hair once a month, and I would leave it in for like a week, week and a half, and then I would take it out, and for 3 days it would just be this mermaid hair, and I was like this Grecian goddess. And I would do like photo shoots, but it was cool because like 2 weeks, like 2 weeks out of the month, I didn't had to do my hair because it was just like in braids.
Look at this.
It's a hack. It's a hair hack because my hair was past my crevice, and I'm growing it long again, but it was double long than this. And you had really long hair, right? I saw in some of your videos. Was that your long hair? I mean, your hair was
Yeah,
pretty long.
I had dreadlocks for 21 years. So the whole thing of not taking care of your hair, I did that for 21 years.
Yeah.
Just kind of like,
Yeah, but your hair does look cool. Actually, when we first got on, I was like, "Yo, the hair is fly." I'm like, it's like straight up. Oh no, yeah. When I had bangs, my hair.
bouncy.
This is the only bang I have. It's because they're growing out. But yo, I have a colic, so I'll wake up. I took photos. It's like Elvis, like ooh, like, but it'll stick straight up like a bird. But yours is like all here, just sticking straight up. I love it. Okay, let's get focused again. So I want to like talk about you talk about communities, and you have teams and fans and people, and you have the Galactic Gang NFT community. So let's just pay homage to the community members, and let's talk about them for a while.
Okay, yeah. Somebody who's very inspiring to me, both artistically but also community wise, is Alex and Allison Gray. They do Cosm in New York. So when I'm like a artist coming up in, like, say, like 2006, and I'm observing what he's doing at a distance before I met him, because I met him around those years, 2007. I was like, wow, this guy does amazing art, but also he's creating like a whole community of people who resonate with his art. Because this is more than just like a pretty picture. This is like a way to connect people in a meaningful spiritual way. So that always like really touched me. Eventually, I became part of that community, which I'd say it would be like the visionary art community or the love tribe community, if you want to be more general. But yeah, I'd say like I'm part of the love tribe, which is not a specific tribe from many countries. Just like if you're loving, good human, you're part of the love tribe, and we're all in it together.
Yeah.
But then, as the tree branches out and has different fractals, my personal branch of the tree would be like the Posit Creations Tribe or the Galactic Gang Community, which is more my NFT project. And yeah, it's just people who resonate with my art and me, which is kind of like tied in together because my art is an expression of me. So it's kind of like putting out a signal, and then people will be like, whoa, what is this? And then they're interested and they come close to it, and they're like, whoa, the guy who makes it talks my language and understands me to some degree. And then I attract a bunch of people who I wouldn't say are like just like me, but we resonate and we can have a conversation that um, means something to us.
And
And
I
yeah.
love that. And how and I want to know, like, what do these community, I mean, members do? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, what do they do for you? What are actionable steps that they do to be the ripple effect for, the community, and having that root conversation that's meaningful, and how, you're the vessel of it and you communicate in such a way, and then these community members, they take action. So what are they doing out there around the world in action, in community, to spread the message?
Yeah, well, the community is not about me. I'm just the dude that attracts everybody together. And sure, sometimes they put me on the spotlight or on the, at the center of it, but I'm just one more of all of us.
Yes.
We're all the same. And the conversation is, where the conversation will be that particular day. And I'd say like a lot of the particular conversations happen in the comment boards of like my Instagram. Say on Sundays, I do these videos that are like around 5 to 10 minutes long, reflecting on my opinions on life, the world, energies, where we're at as humanity. And then on the comment boards, people who are attracted to my art or to me, they will comment and be like, I agree, I disagree. What about this idea? How you thought about this? And then people can express themselves with somebody who understands it. And my ideas are kind of like weird compared to normal people's ideas. So people are thirsty and hungry for somebody who just kind of like thinks a little bit different. Then another place where the conversation happens is on my Discord, the Galactic Gang Discord. And, the members will show up and be like, hey, I'm doing great today because of this. I'm doing bad today because of this. And then the community will be like, well, we're here for you. But say like there's some community members that are really into picking up garbage. So they'll spend their weekends going out to a beach and picking up garbage from a beach. And then that inspires other community members from the
Yeah.
Galactic Gang to, and it's not something that we're like telling like, hey, if you're part of the Galactic Gang, go and pick up garbage. It's just they're all just kind of like influencing each other to do this. Um, and yeah, I know in general, like I'm just like a very busy person. Like I'm traveling here and traveling there and showing up. I'm doing a million projects, so it's really hard for me to like be on Discord or typing all day long.
Yeah.
But I try my best to show up and be like, hey, I'm here too. But the conversation is more within them, and I think it's important for people to know they're not alone, especially when you're like a weird, alien that now is living a human life, and you try psychedelics and you remember you're from a different place and you feel awkward and in the human experience because this or that reason, or, things are tricky and uncomfortable as a human. So it's good to have people around you that you can express yourself openly without trying to be like, ooh, I'm trying to be cool in front of her, right? Like, no, I'm putting my guard down. I'm expressing myself. People understand me. People support me. And in that way, I feel like, there's less stress in the experience that we're going through. So,
So
yeah, I think that's the importance of community.
yeah, lovely. And I want to talk about something specific. Like, if we can think of an example, because it's normal to you. So, the weird thing that's weird to other people, but I'm sure, like, I know I can. I'll be like, oh, that's just normal, but it's like weird to people. So, like, something that's maybe weird to people that's just normal to you. Like, what's an example of maybe people thinking something's weird? Like, what would
Um,
that be like?
well, I believe that uh, I believe that this reality is not the real reality. It is a true, real reality, but the real reality is somewhere else. And
Yeah.
we're in many places at the same time. We're in many times at the same time. And we're playing this video game called being a human at this present time. And it's cool and all. And sometimes you live and enjoy. Sometimes you suffer and you die. But at the end of it, it's just kind of like a, I don't call it silly game, but it is kind of like a game that God plays with itself. A lot of the people who get attracted to me and my art are people who use psychedelics, mushrooms, ayahuasca, acid, etc. So they have been able to some degree unstick from their avatar role and see themselves as pure energy or consciousness. And then they come back into the human experience, and we're a little bit like neurodivergent, and we're strange in our lives, and we communicate in different ways, or we're like overly sensitive to the point where like reality is a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
So we try to find ways to cope with intense reality that's increasingly, it's increasing in intensity because of the solar flares, because of the times, because of the wars, because of the fights and the division. Like the world's getting like, ugh. So like a sensitive person could be like, damn, I can't take this anymore. I want to duck out. I just want to like suicide and go back to the light. So having a community is like,
Oof.
dude, don't feel weird, don't feel bad. I feel the same way too. But how can we be strong through it? How can we be like badass, strong warriors of the light who not only are strong enough to withstand the times, but also are helping others cope with it, because it's only going to get worse. It might get like really, really worse. So we got to like build personal toughness and spiritual strength to go through the ascension process, where eventually things are going to ease up and things are going to be better. And I do believe humanity has a very positive future ahead of us, but we got to go through the negativity. We got to like purge all this negativity that has humanity controlled right now, and in a weird state of illusion and division that it's not a truest state. So to have a community to keep you like through a good mental perspective through it all is very helpful.
Okay, I have so many directions. I hope I remember all of it. Beautiful. Thank you. Well said. And I guess I'll first start with saying, a community to go through it, and good food, so we can have wine and laugh and enjoy the process and all the silliness that's happening. Um, and Khalil Gibran has a poem on joy and sorrow, and you mentioned negativity, and how do we know the highest of the high and the most colorfulest rainbow if we don't know the darkest, deepest sorrows? Like, how can we experience and enjoy the highest and the most positivity if we don't know the contrast of the negativity? So that's just one thought that came to mind in the duality of what I heard you just speak. Um, and yeah, communities super important. And the other two things I said I lost because I started with the other things, but it'll come circling back around. Um, but I've done ayahuasca a few times myself. And the
Mhm.
other thing that comes up actually is when you were mentioning being strong, and at the beginning of the show you were mentioning, you were defensive, and you were a warrior, and you were protecting and being defensive, and you learned, I said, as an onion, to go through those layers to learn yourself and to be more gentle and graceful. So although it may be going towards whatever it may be growing through, in society, we can still be strong and have the strength, but through grace. We can still be strong and not have to be like, fighting and tough. We could be having the strength and be strong, like you said, with communities, and being gentle in that process. So those were kind of my personal thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely to bounce off what you're saying. First, contrast and the duality of the positive and negative life. It's why we're here. We wanted to come here and experience it all, good and bad, and grow through it, and go back to our true source, which is love. Um, as for the second thing that you were just saying that I just lost, I just I just forgot the second thing.
Strength.
Strength. Okay. So there's a difference between like the appearance of strength, me being defensive and be like, I'm a street gang member. I'm tough. Don't mess with me, or like me and my crew will get you. That's not true strength. That's like weakness that had to like build this image of strength to defend the weakness inside. To be strong is to be like, I don't have to project or put out there that I'm this badass dude that's gonna hurt anybody. I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna be vulnerable uh, because I'm strong enough to be vulnerable. I'm strong enough to be me with my goods and bads. And at the end, it's all love. It's self love. It's a journey. I'm not like 100% there. I'm still like hard on myself many days. But if you just kind of like and just love yourself enough, that's the strength that can help you carry you through whatever. Like today, I received an email from a friend and I hurt his feelings by mistake. I wrote something that he didn't like, and I was like, "Ah, I just hurt my friend. I didn't mean to do it, and it bums me out to hurt somebody I love."
Yeah.
And I can beat up myself like all afternoon, hour after hours, like, oh, you fucked up, you hurt your friend, oh, you fucked up. Or I can be like, okay, like I didn't mean to do it. I'll try my best not to do it anymore. I'm gonna forgive myself right away and let myself go because I love myself and I know I don't have the intentions of hurting them. And then just ease it up and release that energy. So yeah, I don't know if that particularly is strength, but yeah, I think just there's a true strength in just like being yourself and being okay with it and forgiving yourself when you make mistakes too.
Yeah, I think there's strength in awareness, right? It's one thing to be doing something and then you're oblivious, but you're acutely aware, and of how you felt and you were able to communicate and your friend was able to communicate, so that's strength through the vulnerability. So I mean that's how I'm receiving it from what I think you're communicating.
Yeah, I guess like the appearance of strength could be
Yeah.
like me
Yeah.
being all like, oh, well, I don't care. I say what I want because I'm so strong. Instead, I was like, oh shit, like I'm so sorry, dude. And in my strength, I
Yeah.
can, bow down and be like apologetic, like, hey, I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. And in
Yeah.
that hopefully that's the kind of strength where like I'm being still open hearted and he can forgive me and then we can go back to being on a good vibe, which I think is what's gonna happen. And if not, I also will accept where we're all at and, once again, learn from my mistakes.
Yeah, yeah, compassionate, and I there's something I learned a while ago, which was we're responsible for sharing how we feel, but we're not responsible for how someone takes our truth. So we're responsible to speak our truth, but we're not responsible of how someone receives our truth, because we can't control other people's emotions and how they feel, but there's a duty and a responsibility to show up as our authentic selves as the best as we can and to share that truth. And the last thing I want to say, and I just want to shapeshift. I know we're wrapping up here, so I want to really touch upon plant medicines. But the very first thing you said on this segment was sensitivities, and how people are so sensitive in ways, and I think we just touched upon that with communication and that being a strength. And then you were saying, with what's happening, it's really important to have communities because of how sensitive we are, so people don't go down a black hole or do things that aren't going to be beneficial, for themselves and the people who care about them, or to others, to project those things out. It's been a process to it's been a process to feel all these feelings and not isolate them, even in 2024 for me personally. So, and I've done a lot of work and I've come a long way, so I can't imagine how other people are. So I just wanted to kind of just bring that to attention, because you highlighted a very important topic, and a lot of us are sensitives in that way, and it's not a weakness, and there's nothing wrong with communicating because we're all looking for the language of how to communicate, and maybe it doesn't come out the right way, or some people can be so quick to judge someone else and call them weak or call them sensitive, but they're just, they're crawling and they're taking the steps, and it's easy to project and judge people based off what they're saying. But a lot of people are just really trying to speak up and communicate their sensitivities and how they're feeling. So I think it's we're going in the good direction, with being sensitive and communicating how we're feeling, even if it doesn't come out perfectly. So
Yeah, that's like a big conversation because like even the definition of sensitivity could be misinterpreted. Like for example, I could be like, "Oh, I'm sensitive," where I don't feel like going to a party with 3,000 people all yelling around me. It's too much noise, and my like sensitivity is like my senses are on. I can hear, I can smell, I can see, and sometimes it's like my receptor software is just like, this is a little bit overwhelming. The music's a little bit too loud. People are not really my vibe. I think I'm too sensitive for this place. That's what I'm referring by sensitive. And it's totally cool if you want to pass on going out to places that are not your vibe. Like it makes total sense. Like sometimes we are made felt by our peers like, oh, you got to go to this thing and you got to do this and you got to do that because that's what normal people do. And it's like, yeah, but like I'm okay not being normal, like, and I'm okay like if that place makes me uncomfortable, I'm gonna honor me and just not go there. That's what I mean by being sensitive. Then there's the sensitivity of like, oh, I don't want these people to refer to me as this word. And I'm like, okay, that's a different conversation. What's the intention of the person saying the word? Did they mean to insult you, or they just got like an outdated version of that word and they just didn't know, they didn't get the memo? So that's a different kind of, you know, level of sensitivity. Then there's also just people who straight up will use it to be a victim, which I don't think is the best way, because it's kind of like you're just robbing people's energies. It's like,
mm,
oh, poor me, give me your energy, give me your energy. And it's like, well, you're just really robbing people's energies under the disguise of like that you're a victim. Like, but also if you're a victim, you can communicate it so that we can stop hurting each other. So there's just, you know, reality is
yeah,
just like such a hall of mirrors,
yeah.
and you're just kind of like plugging in different things, and you plug something in and be like, oh, that one didn't fit there. No, let's plug it here. Let's see if that fits. Okay, yeah, that works well there. And we're just like, you know, kind of like creating a web that makes more sense. And hopefully at one point we can figure out how to exist without hurting anybody else. But since we're all so different, it's a fine dance and it might be impossible.
We shall see. Well said. Just to kind of highlight what you just communicated. The victim. Then that's an awareness for us not to judge and have compassion, depending on what place we're in. One, it's a cry for help. Then the first one you were mentioning is the autonomic nervous system. My central nervous system gets dysregulated. Like for me, when I was a kid, I could go to Coachella, I could go to those kind of places. Now, like, no thank you. I'm like privé, 30 people max, whatever, 15, I'm good. Like small intimacy. But our levels of energies and our interests change, and the world changes, right? Scenarios, festivals, things that happen in the world. So yeah, it's just know thyself, Socrates, really. And if it's going to dysregulate your nervous system, and it's not good for you to communicate and not over communicate, but learn and know, like, I get dysregulated, my energy starts whacking out, I start shaking, like it's not good for me. Anyway, so there's different coping mechanisms and tools, and that's like a whole nother podcast. It looks like we're gonna have a whole nother podcast on plant medicine, but because it's not something
You can
just to.
you can you can ask if you want. We can go a little bit longer. It's cool.
Okay. So I mean, let's go to. I mean, share with me plant medicine, what it means for you. What is plant medicine for people who don't know, and when did you start your plant medicine journey?
I guess plant medicine is what we're referring to, at least right now, because really all plants have medicine. But what we're specifically referring to is psychedelics and entheogens that are specific plant medicine, sometimes animal medicines too, or even chemically created medicines that open up different perception of reality past the physical one. I my story with psychedelics is a long one, and it wasn't always intentional. Like back in the day, I was just a college student getting drunk and eating mushrooms, and that had some lessons in it, but I wouldn't say it was super intentional. I would say I only really got super intentional once I started using ayahuasca at age 33, which was also at the same time that my first marriage was coming down. It was not really working out, so I had to go to the jungle of Peru to um, go deep into myself and commune with the spirits from beyond, and ask and realize if I was supposed to stay in that marriage or move on. And the answer was that I actually had to move on from that particular relationship, even though the love is still there and she's a great friend. But
I have a question.
yeah,
But did you know that before you did Aya? Did you know that deep down? Because they say we truly always know the answer. Like you went to a jungle, you had this beautiful experience, or maybe not so beautiful, but did you know before doing it though?
it was a tricky thing because in the case of the marriage, I loved my wife. When you marry, you're supposedly promising the rest of your life together, which is a little bit crazier of a proposition, but
Yeah.
that's the general idea of marriage, I suppose. Uh, but I loved her, and she was sick. The issue with our marriage is that she had a thyroid issues, and then cancer, and then she had this eustachian tube in her head that like drove her crazy. She felt like she was drowning nonstop, and it was like a terrible existence. And all I could do was like sit there as like the husband, like kind of like being like, "I'm sorry you're suffering. I don't know what to do." And we take her to a million doctors, and no one would have an answer. So I'm just like looking at her suffer and not be able to do anything. My only thing I could do for her is like not travel and stay home and be with her. But then I felt I was like missing out on my own life.
Yeah.
I was like not out there being an artist, not out there shining my light and communing with my community. So the question was like, what do I do? Am I going to be like, in appearance, it looked like, oh, I'm wanting to choose career over love,
Right.
leave my wife behind, go chase career and money and fame and popularity, and screw my wife. She can stay alone at home suffering by herself. That looks like not the right option. So going to the jungle, like I was like, oh my God, like, what, like I was very confused. So what ayahuasca told me is like, look, you could choose to be the good husband, stay home, and then you will dedicate your life to heal one person. And that would be fine. That's not a bad thing. But we're at the stage of the history of humanity where we need all light workers to go out there and be missionaries of the tribe of love to fucking, spark up the light of humanity. We need you out there in the trenches, like talking to thousands of people, to bringing tons of goodness to more than just your one wife. I'm sorry, you're going to have to like let that life go, let her go, let your house go, let your life go, and start from zero at age 37 so you can go out there and be this traveling missionary of sorts. So so I wouldn't say I knew the answer before that, but that's what I got reflected, and I went through it, and it was super difficult, but I'm happy I did, because I think if I would have stayed in that relationship, I would have just been, we would have just been unhappy, and no one wants to live an unhappy life. So
Just not authentic and just guilty all the time, right? Just all I
yeah.
mean, you're such a heartfelt, soulful person. There's just so much guilt there, and oh, that's not a way to live. Like there's something, it was a while ago I saw it, but there, because I would do things sometimes. This is independent of your story, just so you know. But like I would just be like be guilty and helping people, or feeling pity for some people, like pity, and I would help them.
Mhm.
And I saw something and it said, like, do not help people when you pity them. Like it's not authentic, and then you don't feel good afterwards. Like you want to do you ever do things where you like you feel guilty, so you do something because it's going to make them make them feel good, and short term it makes you feel good, but then deep down it makes you not feel good because you're not really helping them long term, right?
Yeah, definitely. If the root of why you're helping somebody is guilt or pity as opposed to love, you know,
Yeah.
then that seems kind of like a weird reason to do it. Like you don't want to be coerced. It's like, okay, I guess I'll help you because, but in reality, you might not care, or and if you don't care, you don't care. Like it's the ideal is that we all love each other, and there's no limit to that. But it's also, it's not the ideal is not a real human reality. Is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I don't know. I guess like if you want to help somebody, I guess just try to connect into love and help them for the right reasons and not have pity for that. I don't like to have pity for people. Like I got a friend right now in Ottawa. He's dying and he's wanting attention and energy, and I'm like, okay, I'll do it when I can. I'll do it out of love. I don't want to do it out of pity because you're going to die. Like I don't observe death as a negative thing necessarily. So, he gets kind of confused by all that because sometimes it feels like I don't care, but it's not like I don't care. It's just I just have confidence that whatever happens to him is what's meant to happen to him, and that it's a blessing, even though obviously no he wants to die. I think as long as he doesn't die in that painful way, you just jump into the eternal infinity dimension of love and bliss. So, but
Yeah.
that's my perspective, and he might not share it. So
Yeah.
there's not. I can't force my perspective on somebody else. As I don't want somebody to force their perspective on me.
Yeah, and the thing that comes to me is like we can't save anyone, like we can't, like I used to go around personally like trying to save everyone because like I wanted to be saved. Like, no, you need to take care of yourself internally. Like, I need to take care of myself. When I take care of myself, then I can really, truly take care of others. We can't really, and I remember a mentor years ago, over 10 years ago, taught me, like, if you want to really take care of people, like, take care of yourself. Like, then you can help out, like, so many people. So I think that circles back around to what you were saying about your personal journey when you went to the jungle. Um, another thing about Aya is I've seen people when I was, in the stratosphere of it, I saw people like doing it hundreds of times, like so many times. I don't know how you are, but like I think I did it in three settings. I did it three different times with two different shamans, but I got it. I'm good. Like I got it. I'm good. I don't need to like keep doing it. Like some people just like keep doing it and doing it. Like I mean, what do you think about the people who like do it like hundreds of times and then like did you get it? Like are you good? Like you got it? You got the message? Are you done? Are you continuing to do this plant medicine, and or do you do other plant medicines as well? I mean, I know you mentioned psilocybin, which is amazing.
Yeah. So there's a couple questions here. So let's start with the second one. Yes, I do other medicines, but very rarely. Like, say if I is not available and I'm going through like emotions or something I need to work out, I might take a gram or two of mushrooms, and then I'll put myself in the scenario of an ayahuasca ceremony, as in like turn down the lights, blindfold myself, put some really shanty shamanic music, maybe have a bucket right next to me, and just go inside and let it be worked out inside my consciousness. Um, as for how many times I've done it, I've done it quite a few times, but you know, I haven't done it in a minute, like maybe like a year or two, maybe like a year since I've done it last time, and before that it was like another year. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like, not that I got the message and I know everything and that I'm like saved and good to go. Like, there's always more work to be done. But also, you can't just always be doing it. It's too much. It unlocks a lot, but also it's like when you work out, you gotta let the muscles kind of like calm down and get back into a state where you want to work him back up, because if you're always working him out, they got worn out, and then it's actually not healthy. And this is an assumption. I don't know why people would want to do it over and over and over again, because it's actually like quite challenging of an experience if you ask me. but I guess they get like addicted to that state where they feel they've improved just a little bit more and more. And we always want to improve more and more, but then that never really finishes. And if you're not really improving by yourself without this interdimensional guide holding your hand, I don't know. I think you're missing the point. Once again, this is just a personal opinion, but I feel like the real work is done in sober everyday life. Me talking to my friend, me apologizing to my friend. That's the true video game. While the ayahuasca, like super trippy, you know, disconcerting uh, process, it's more like, okay, dude, we're gonna recalibrate things. We're gonna get some like some viruses out. We're gonna put you in a good direction, but then you gotta do it yourself. You know, we can't just be there like pushing you all the time. You gotta walk with your own strength. So yeah, I don't want to judge anybody who does it endlessly. To each their own. Maybe some people need that forever, but personally, I'm good for a while. I'm sure I'll come back at some point. I'm sure I'll do more ceremonies, and I'll be grateful. But I'm good right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What came to me when you mentioned it, for me, it's kind of like virtually, it's or viscerally, it's an earthquake where like it gets down to these destructive cracks. It opens things up, but the work starts in everyday life. It's not actually what happens during Aya, right? It's after where the work begins because see the branches in a whole new way. You see the person on the bench sitting next to you in a whole new way. Like you're on the train, you feel, you observe. It's a gentle process of awareness of the beauty of life. I feel. um I just want to quickly mention since we're on the topic, but there's clinicaltrials.org or clinicaltrial.org where people can do psilocybin treatments with guided people. There's MAPS, MAPS.org. They have psilocybin treatment centers in Jamaica that are legal. In Mexico, there's one in Oregon. In the United States, that's the first one. People can go for like 3-4 days, do psilocybin if they want to do it, guided. And then I love how like Mel Robbins, she does a great episode. She's amazing. I love her, Brene Brown and Mel Robbins, and she talks about with her partner, her husband, and they'll have guided treatments. I think they do. Like they do psilocybin and ketamine. um but anyway, so yeah, those are just some like educational tips and tools for people who maybe want to look more for like a guided experience, looking into psilocybin specifically. Yeah, so any thoughts or questions on any of that, or psilocybin at all?
um, I just always go back to intention, like when you're doing a lot of like psychedelics are getting more accepted, which is nice because they are a positive medicine. But also, if you're doing it without intention and you're just saying like, oh, I want to get fucked up, or well, I want to do it just to get shit real trippy. I don't know, like what are we doing here? Like, be careful how you open up these portals because there are living
Powerful.
entities and lives on the other side. And if you're coming in with a weird vibe, you might be attracting something strange to potentially live in you. So make sure when you open up these portals to be super respectful, to call in your guides and your angels and your invisible security, to make sure that nothing gets into you in a negative way, because we all got voices in our head to some degree. Could be the mind, could be our positive angels and demons, but ideally we clean out the demons and we just listen to our angelic guides. And yeah, so let's do these medicines with good intentions and respect.
Love it. Yeah, good intentions. It's about set and setting, literally set and setting. So, with candles, the people you're around, the energies you're around, even the foods that we're putting into our blood cells, the chemicals, the products that are on our clothes, in our dishware. So, like just being non-toxic and just being having a clean vessel to be able to receive the gifts of what comes from the ground, the plant medicines. Yes. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, how wonderful. I mean, we really went all over the place. It's been such an honor having you on, fellow
Thank you.
podcaster, fellow artist. It'll be in the show notes. Check out Chris's video podcast. He has artists on. I mean, I was like looking at all of them and like Ron English. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he's super cool.
I I hope to meet him one day. Soon, super
Yeah,
neat. And then go ahead.
he lives in the Hudson Valley. You can, like you who live in New York, right? That's one of your homes. Just pay attention to where he's showing art, and then you just show up to one of his art shows, and he'll just be standing around, and he's chill. He's kind of shy and awkward, if anything.
Oh,
So,
that's perfect. I'll go right up to him. But listen, no, Hudson Valley, we got to go there when you're in New York next. I've been invited to the Grays home actually, and I haven't gone yet. So I know they have like gatherings at their home and stuff like that. So maybe we'll meet up at one of their gatherings in the near future. But that's I'm glad you told me he lives there. I actually want to spend more time in Hudson Valley.
yeah, totally. Yeah, the Grays, Alex and Allison Gray have events at Cosm like once a month for full moons. I think there's one that's coming up. They do workshops. They're open most days of the week. I don't know when I'm going next, but they're actually the next guest for my podcast. So I'm at episode 99 right now. Next week, episode 100 comes out with Alex and Allison. So that should be fun.
Wow, congratulations. That's so
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah, yeah. I've only seen them one time IRL at Art Basel actually. I went to the launch party of MoonPay and they were doing this huge mural and um Ivan, the CEO of MoonPay is really close, I guess. He told me they're like his I don't know if he said spiritual grandparents or parents. I think he said spiritual grandparents.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
but
was like that was like a crypto event in Miami a couple years ago. That it's kind of like a rave land somewhere. No, it's like a bunch of rooms with like a bunch of parties. Is that where they were doing it?
it was like that. There was like there was cubicles and a bunch of screens. It was a massive mural. It was in a like a warehouse kind of industrial space
Yeah,
during um Art Basel, NFT Basel
yeah.
in 2022. I'm gonna send you footage. I took they were creating so
Wow,
Allison, Alex. They were creating, so I didn't say hello or anything, but I took some photos and some videos. I'll send them to you so you can see them.
sounds good. Thank you so much.
But it's an honor. I'm excited to meet them, and hopefully you'll be in New York, and we'll meet up in New York, and we'll all celebrate together. And I'll definitely tune into your episode with them, your celebration of 100 episodes. How cool!
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
3 years, lots of work, but yeah, happy it's growing finally.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I mean, we'll talk offline, but really quick, I want to plug you into Rad TV because Rad, this video podcast, we're streaming on Rad in 4.5 million homes, and also not only in Web 2, but you can also put your podcasts, videos, all of them on with Bitcoin too on the blockchain. And then I just found out today that the CEO, Tony of Rad, made a deal with Amazon. So now she's all over the place podcast is streaming on Amazon too. So we are all over the place and would love to hook you up and get you your own channel over there for your artists, for your artistry, for your videos and everything you're creating in the world. So we can talk more offline about that if you're interested.
Sure. Thank you so
Cool.
much.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Okay. Anything else you would like to say? Words of wisdoms? A book you would want to suggest, or anything to fellow artists out there to take action, get more inspired if they're not already?
I'd say like just just enjoy life, you know. Once again, goes down back to intention. Like, don't be selfish, and your happiness doesn't have to like take away from somebody else's happiness. But there's nothing wrong with like just living a life that you enjoy. If it's artistic, cool. If it's not artistic, whatever makes you happy. I hope you can enjoy that. And yeah, let's just be nice and kind to each other, even if you don't vibe with somebody else. Like, you don't have to hang out with them and be best friends, but you also don't have to hate on them just because somebody's different. Uh, I think there's still a lot of division. It used to be more like based on like race and culture, and now that's like seen as a bad thing, so people like maybe have grown out of that, but now they're judging people for other reasons. It's like, oh well, they're a different political affiliation, so I'll hate them for that. And it's like, well, that's just the same, just different characteristics. So I'd say like just let everybody just be. Everybody's different, let them be, you know, love them if you can, but don't hate them if you know, there's no need for hate or fights or, you know, throwing shit out the other side of the aisle. Just kind of like live your happy life and spread happiness if you can.
I love that. I love that. I mean, what comes to me, which you already know, I feel is like, when people are throwing things across the aisle or swearing or being mean or talking negatively outside to people or to themselves, they're just hating on themselves. They're being hard on themselves, and so we have to be kinder to ourselves, truly, first and foremost, so we're not projecting that outwards and blaming and shaming and pointing fingers and hating on other people because of the division. That's how I receive what you mentioned.
Yeah. You know, if you love yourself, you're kind of like chilling because it's like, hey, I'm good with myself. And, you know, usually when you hate somebody else, it's like, ugh, that person's not the way I need him to be, because only when everybody is like me, then I'll be safe. It's like, no, you, let them do them,
Yeah.
you know, it doesn't affect you, like most times at least, unless they're coming and like, you know, crossing your boundaries. And that's when you go up and be like, hey, can you please not cross my boundaries? And hopefully that's that. Anyways, I wish Noah would fight, but perhaps it's not part of this reality.
Yeah. Yeah. Something to think about. Something to think about. Okay, you just tuned into She's All Over the Place. Please check out the show notes and follow Chris, and check out all the links below too, and pick up his new book and merch. I love that. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. Bye.